Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So, Sheikh, I really love animals and I want to keep exotic species as my pets, for example, like tarantulas. So, the question is, are there animals that are prohibited to keep as pets? Jazakallah.
Wajazak. Basically, keeping pets in Islam is permissible. And the hadith of Anas ibn Malik in the Sahih, where he says, I had a young sibling who had a bird in a cage, and he used to take care of it until the bird died. So he was saddened and depressed, and the Prophet used to come and joyfully ask my younger brother, Ya Aba Umair, ماذا فعل النغير? Nicknaming him by Aba Umair, and asking him about the small bird. What did the bird do? From this, the scholars stemmed that it is permissible to keep pets in the house as long as you provide for them and feed them. The exception would be in pets that we are not allowed to keep, such as mice. We're ordered to kill mice in Islam because they're harmful and bad. Snakes, scorpions, and the likes that are harmful. So I've seen people taking pets with snakes, anacondas, or a small python. I don't know if you can get a small python or not, but depends. Or a tarantula. I think it's called a tarantula. It's a big, hairy spider that is poisonous. Or scorpions and the likes. Some even may pet alligators. All of this is haram and prohibited. There are other exotic pets or animals or the likes that have no value. So basically speaking, if you pet a cat, this is permissible. If you pet a parrot, a bird, if you have a fish tank and you put exotic nice fish in it, there's no problem in that. And Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. The fact that Brother Ruwaish has problems with OCD, now he's saying that I have a cat. And I know that cats do their things in their litter box. So then afterwards, they don't take a shower, they don't wash themselves, they don't wipe themselves. So they walk all over the sand and the soiled area, and then they walk on the carpet and they come to me and they sometimes lick themselves to clean themselves up, and then they come and lick my hand. So is this all involving in najasa and impurity, and my whole house needs to be burnt down to the ground? Can we keep cats as pets? Akhi, don't be extreme and take things easy. Are cats permissible in Islam to be pets? The answer is yes. The hadith, if you had knowledge, if you watched Umdat al-Ahkam or other beneficial books of fiqh, you will learn this. With knowledge, you will have the weapon to fight shaitan. So, in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ saw a cat coming. He gave her a pot or a bowl of water and had her drink of it. And he did not render the water or the pot as najis. So he explained that to his companions so that they would learn and they would know how to judge things. He said, this is among those wanderers upon you. Those animals, these pets, are mixing a lot with you in the homes. They wander around you. So it would have been extremely difficult, if not impossible, to have things rendered as najis, if we were to classify it as najis in everything it touches. But the Prophet ﷺ made things easy. So this is one of the legal maxims in Islam. And it is explained in Umdat al-Ahkam. The Prophet, the legal maxim is, certainty is not removed or affected by doubt. So the whole carpet, the bed, the sofa, my lap when my cat sits on it or in it or whatever, the default it is pure. This is the certainty. Now, but maybe Sheikh, the cat did this or did that. Maybe. Is it certain or doubtful? He said, no, it's doubtful. Throw it in the dustbin. Get rid of it. Yes, but me no but. I gave you the rule. If you learn and implement this in your life, say goodbye to wiswas and OCD with the grace of Allah Azza wa Jal, first of all. So, no, there's nothing wrong in taking cats as such.
Question is that when I am praying, my cat comes and sits on the prayer mat. Is it okay, or should I push it aside, or can I move a little aside?
A cat is a pet that the Prophet ﷺ once saw in his home. He went to a vessel and gave the water to the cat to drink from it. And he said, this is among at-tawafuna alaykum wat-tawafat. This pet, this animal, is among the animals that come and wander around in your homes. So it is permissible to keep, to pet, and to allow it to come and mingle with you. Which means that if a cat comes and sits in front of you while you're praying, there's no problem in that, inshallah. However, try not to step on it or prostrate on it because you'll squeeze it to death. Rather, when you want to prostrate, just remove it aside or put it between your prostration spot and your knees, and there is no problem in that, and your prayer is valid, insha'Allah azza wa jal. Tariq from the UK says, now in the Maliki school of thought, they were the only people who went against considering the saliva of a dog, a canine, to be impure. They said, no, it is pure. And they quoted few hadiths here and there, such as a pool that they used to drink from, such as them going in and out from the Masjid of Medina, of the Masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, and other examples. But all of these do not stand up to the hadith, which is highly authentic, without any doubt in it, which all the other schools of thought, the school of Abu Hanifa, of Shafi'i, and of Ahmad bin Hanbal, agreed to consider it the cornerstone when talking about a dog's saliva, which stated that the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, the purification of any of your utensils that happened to have a dog lick in it is to wash it 7 times with water and once with soil. In another narration, the 8th with soil. So this hadith indicates that the najasa, the impurity of a dog's saliva, is of the highest levels, because urine, defecation, menstruation, blood, all of these are impure and najis, but they can be washed, squeezed, and washed again, and that's it. It's purified. Not with the dog's saliva when licking in a utensil. That dish, that plate, that glass has to be washed 7 times, even though we don't see anything on it. But it has to be washed 7 times and once with soil. So this is the most authentic opinion, backed by the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that is unambiguous, that does not accept any room of error, and Allah knows best. What is the ruling on washing the thobe that was licked by a dog? The hadith that refers to this in the Sunnah relates to licking utensils. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, إِذَا وَلَغَ الْكَلْبُ فِي إِنَاءِ أَحَدِكُمْ, if the dog were to lick in the pot, in the vessel, in the plate of one of you, he should wash it 7 times. In a narration, 8 times. One of them, in a narration, the first one of them is by soil. So this is the hardest and most extreme form of impurity. Urine, if it falls on my thobe, all I have to do is wash that spot once or twice until the urine is gone. That's it. This is normal najasa. Any impurity is done likewise. With the dog, in the pot or in the vessel on the plate, it has to be washed first of all with soil, sand from the ground, and then 8 or 7 times with water. 7 times. Now, what happens if I'm walking and a dog comes and sniffs my trousers or licks my trousers or my thobe or my abaya, etc.? Some scholars say you have to do the 7 times plus the soiling, even with your clothes. And this is the madhab of the Hanbali school of thought, but this is a weak opinion. The most authentic opinion is that soiling and washing 7 times is only for utensils that we eat in. The clothes are washed normally, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best.